Well, another Saturday, so you know what it's time for. Another edition of the Black and Gold Report coming your way here on the UNCP Sports Network. Matt Sabatis with you from our Old Main studios. I'm glad you could take the time out of your day to join us. A lot to get to, a lot to talk about here on this edition of the show. Of course, we'll give you all the highlights you need, recapping the week that was in Braves athletics. We'll also sit down with the head coach of the wrestling squad. Othello Johnson joins me at studio in just a few minutes, as well as Ben Miller, head coach of the basketball team. But before we get to any of that, of course, we've got to recap how the postseason started for UNCP basketball.
Well, unless you've been living under a rock for the past week, you definitely saw David Strother's phenomenal buzzer-beating triple to knock off Francis Marion in round one of the Southeast Regional Tournament. But the Braves, of course, had to turn their attention to round two against Queens University, and the Royals, one of the top 10 teams in the country, in Queens, proved it at Lincoln Memorial this past weekend. Nice alley-oop there to get them ahead 8-3. Braves kept it very close, though. The triple threat, though, was alive for Queens. Braves struggling on the perimeter defense, but down low, Nigel Grant doing an excellent job for UNCP. He finished the day with 10 points. The triple threat for Brandon Watts, alive and well as well. The senior with 22 points on the day. But the Braves defense was just not able to keep Queens off the board. Fantastic athleticism down low for the Royals from the likes there of Mike Davis, and the Braves unfortunately falling 75-63. Here's what head coach Ben Miller had to say after the finish.
You know, I can sit here and say we had an off night offensively, but you got to give them a lot of credit for, you know, the pressure they put on us, speeding us up. So I would say I told the guys, you know, you never have the right words, especially for those seniors that don't get a chance to keep playing. But it's the most fun I've ever had coaching a team. You know, and when, you know, a couple days, a week, or whatever from now, when the dust settles, we look back, we'll celebrate this season and the history that those seniors and this team made. You know, so our defense gave us a chance, but they were probably as good as we've seen in terms of pressuring the ball. Usually it's kind of what we do to people, but they, you know, put it right back on us. And, you know, and we got a lot of good shots, but we rushed a lot. But you got to give them credit for the pressure. You know, they're top 10 defensive team in the country, as we've become this year too. But at the end of the day, they were a little bit better. I mean, they're a veteran team. They got a lot of seniors. They got a lot of interchangeable parts defensively, and they took us out of our rhythm.
What a season it was, though, for Braves basketball. Program record for wins in a season, most wins in a career for head coach Ben Miller, and of course, back-to-back undisputed Peach Belt Conference champions. We'll sit down with Ben Miller later in the show to get his thoughts on the year and his outlook for next season, but it's now time to turn our attention to baseball.
Braves back at Sammy Cox Field for the first time since the end of February. Connor Granger opening the scoring for UNC Pembroke following a double from Luke Jackson. Granger lacing one of his own across the left field line. 1-0 in favor of the Braves in the second inning. On to the third, and Trevor Clemens getting another one across the board for UNC Pembroke, fielding miscues on that single through the gap. Right fielder lost it in his glove. Clemens able to find his way to third as Rivera comes across, making it 2-0. Braves tack on 4 more before Wingate responds with 6 of their own in the 6th inning, but Ethan Baucom making it 9-6 with that long fly ball there, his 5th home run of the season. Braves would end it there thanks to some great pitching down the stretch from the likes of Hank Simpson and Gunnar Deal, the latter picking up the save as the Braves pick up their 15th win this season.
Today against Winston-Salem State University and the Rams, but it's a home-and-home contest. The two teams will be here in Pembroke at 3 o'clock, so be sure to catch it on the UNCP Sports Network. On the other diamond for UNCP, softball. They just started their Peach Belt Conference season. Let's tune in and see how things have been going for the Braves.
Start of the Peach Belt Conference season for Braves softball, doubleheader affair against Georgia College. The offense off to the right foot, a nice single there to bring home Lexi Cox around to score. Jamie Johnson providing some offense for UNC Pembroke, the freshman doing an excellent job. Tatum Brummett providing some more offensive bruff for UNCP, but Georgia College able to really put it to the Braves early on, and they were able to coast to a Game 1 victory thanks to that 6th spot through the first 2 innings. On to Game 2 now. The Braves already finding themselves down early, able to bring a couple of runners across, but the pitching staff still struggling to make it a good start for UNC Pembroke, dropping the first 2 in conference play this season.
Pair of conference doubleheaders coming this weekend for the Braves, one against Young Harris and the Mountain Lions later today. Then they move on to Dahlonega, Georgia to take on the nationally ranked North Georgia Nighthawks. A tough weekend in tow for UNCP Braves softball. Head to uncpbraves.com to check out all the live action. We're going to step aside right now. When we return on the Black and Gold Report, though, head coach of the wrestling squad, Othello Johnson, joins me in studio. We're going to talk over how the national championships went for his squad. 4 different Braves making a trip up to Iowa, with Tyler McCosey, Nick Daggett, Eric Milks, and Rodney Shepard all representing the Black and Gold in Cedar Falls. Be sure to join us. We're back in just a second right here on the UNCP Sports Network. Back in on the Black and Gold Report for segment 2 here from our Old Main studios. Time now to welcome in the head coach of the wrestling squad, Othello Johnson, here to talk things over of how his team did down in the national championships in Iowa. Coach, first off, 3 All-Americans. You had Nick Daggett, Eric Milks, Rodney Shepard, all placing in the top 8. How was that experience overall?
As always, being at the national tournament means you don't get to pay for your spring break. The NCAA covers that, so it was a good opportunity for those guys to show the rest of the nation what they're capable of, and they all went out there and did a good job, competing and leaving it all out there in Iowa. So I'm really proud of those guys and how they performed and just really how they represented Brave Nation.
Well, how about Rodney making such an impact after transferring over midseason?
Yeah, obviously Rodney didn't get what he went out to get, obviously the national championship, but I think that's a combination of a few things. Not having a proper opportunity to train with the program and I guess more or less not getting comfortable with us and trusting the process completely, which he did, but I think the fact that we get him back for a whole calendar year, just being in his ear and just really, grinding all through the season, I think is going to help him a lot. But definitely proud of the way he came out and trusted us for the most part of the season and went out there and performed the way he did.
Well, it definitely sets the bar high for next season for a guy like Rodney as well. But looking to the other 2 that you placed in the top 8, Eric Milks, the lone senior, if I'm not mistaken. How big is that for your team, the fact that you sent 4 to the national championships, including Tyler McCosey, and only 1 is going to be graduating?
Well, Eric, you definitely can't replace a leader like Eric Milks, obviously a guy that's not just a leader in our program, but a guy that's prepared to go and be a sergeant in the military. So I think everything he did at OCS this summer, you can kind of see translate to his leadership in our program, the way he just held guys accountable in practice and competition, and really just making sure that guys weren't out late at night doing things that weren't conducive to performing. Mm-hmm. And he only just didn't say that, but he definitely exemplified it in the way he carried himself, on and off the mat, and obviously that paid dividends for him at the national tournament by punching a ticket to the podium in his senior season.
Is there anyone you think that can fill that gap?
Well, we're hoping Tyler does a good job this summer, get in the weight room, put on some weight, proper weight, to move up and be able to take that position. Actually, Tyler made a big sacrifice once we kind of realized that was Eric's weight class to be held, and Tyler made some sacrifices going down to 149. Again, that also paid dividends because he was able to punch his ticket to the national tournament. But we feel like Tyler's a guy that can come in there next year and not only feed off of Eric's momentum, but hopefully continue that trend of getting the guy on the podium at nationals at 157. But yeah, Tyler McCosey is a guy that we feel really good about that can fill that void.
And how about Nick Daggett as well? This is such an upstart guy. Almost surprised a couple people from the start of the season to now, to the fact that he was able to place so high and make an All-American position.
Yeah, he's a true freshman. So this time last year he was in high school, trying to put on some weight, 113 pounds. And in the process, we weren't very sure what we're going to do with Nick, and neither was he. We talked on the way back, and he was like, "Coach, I'm super shocked about the way I performed this season and how well I did." But we told him in the process, "Hey, we can't pay for it, but if you come here this summer, take some classes, get in the weight room, it can really help your college wrestling out." And he did that, and it really showed. It showed that he was able to sustain a course of a long college wrestling season. A guy that really bought in early, even though he didn't have success. He's a guy that's great at making adjustments. He had the opportunity to advance 3 losses over the course of the season, and 2 of the losses were at the NCAA tournament to guys that beat him early in the year to punch his ticket to become an All-American. So we're really, really excited about his future and what he can do for Brave Nation, obviously in Brave Tough Wrestling. We just got to fix a few things because we feel like he's a guy that can be the national champion in the next few years.
Well, obviously, with that trio, Sans Milks, that you sent to the national tournament, it does set the bar high for next season. But speaking of next season, recruiting-wise, who are some of the guys that you've been looking at that could be joining the Braves next year that you think will make a big impact? And I can already see you got a big smile on your face for that.
Well, we definitely. Well, we had a huge phone call from one of our commits. You know, he was able to beat some guys that are Division I commits, and you know, we're excited for him and what he can bring to the table. And then there's a couple other guys. Obviously, I can't say the names since they haven't signed yet, but you know, we're excited about what we have, the ground that we've, I guess the groundwork that we've paved, and we're just hoping that those guys believe in what we got going on to come and join us and not only help us get back to the national tournament, but you know, from everything we saw and the way we performed, we feel like we were a team that can come back with one of those 4 national tournament trophies. So we just gotta, you know, do like we did this year and just put our head down and do our jobs, put ourselves around the right people, and you know, good things will happen. We just gotta get lucky a little bit like we did this year, and you know, hopefully the guys that are returning to the team next year will feel the same way and you know, feel unfulfilled and you know, do their jobs this summer.
Are there going to be any good clashes in the weight class to see who might be picking up the starting nod next season, or do you think, or were you recruiting around some of the gaps that will be open from graduating seniors?
Never ever recruiting around any weight class. We're a program that believes if you do your work, you don't have to worry about who's coming in.
True.
And if you don't, somebody's going to come in and take your spot. It's like the real world. You know, if you don't do your job, there's always someone coming in that's hungrier, that wants to take what you got. So if any of our guys are watching, make that a public notice to you that, you know, no job is safe, and, you know, if you're not working, someone else is looking to try to come and take what you got. So, no, to answer your question, we're not recruiting around any weight class. We're recruiting all weight classes.
We'll cut this portion of the interview and send it to the team to make sure that they have that well in mind. Since this is going to be the last time that we sit down for this season before we look on to next season, Coach, are there any final thoughts? Because you've been one of our better guests. I think it's safe to say you've always enjoyed your time on the show. Is there anything that you've enjoyed this season in general from your team moving on to next season, just looking back once it's all said and done?
I would really say, you know, just the way the guys gravitated towards our staff. We pushed them hard early often. We pushed them hard. You know, Russell, NC State, who blanked us at the beginning of the year. And, you know, at that time, you would think a lot of guys would put their heads down and really start saying, man, is this for me? You know, we wrestled the team that won Division II national titles in St. Cloud, and we won one match in that duel. And again, also at that time, you know, we had a lot of guys that had the deer in the headlights look. So for them to slowly but surely start, you know, coming around and believing in us, it really lets us know that we got to get a great foundation built, and we just have to continue to push those guys, keep our standards high, and not really, you know, come down to where those guys are, and you know, we got to try to mentor them up to our level, and hope that they believe that they have the same capability. And you know, we both put our shirt on the same way this morning, so that the rest of their opponents that they compete against, and you know, just excited about the way the guys responded, excited about the campus involvement, you know, in our dual matches at home. That was super exciting. You know, to see those fans come out and be a part of it. You know, even if they didn't know a single thing about wrestling, people came out there and just yelled because they saw one of our guys yelling, and it was fun to be a part of. And you know, and it's just, you know, it's great to be a part of, you know, winning a conference championship with you know, multiple other sports on campus, and that's really helped drive up our guys' enthusiasm and know that they're a part of that. So it's been a fun year, and we're definitely hungry and not satisfied, and we're looking forward to a great off season, and definitely looking forward to hopefully being here and continue to have these good interviews and, you know, put, you know, not UNCP wrestling, but also UNCP athletics on the map.
All right, Coach. Well, we're glad you could take the time with us throughout this season, and we look forward to similar meetings next season and, of course, continued success. We're going to step aside right now. When we return, head coach of the basketball squad joins us in our secondary studio. Ben Miller up next on the UNCP Sports Network. Back in for another edition. Back in for segment 3 of the Black and Gold Report. Of course, we'd like to thank head coach Othello Johnson for sticking with us last segment, and now we're joined by head coach of the basketball squad, Ben Miller. Coach, as we already saw your team coming to an end for 2017 and 2018, but building upon the bar that was set from last season, I just want to get your thoughts and your words after the season's said and done.
Yeah, really proud of the guys. It still stings a little bit that we're not still playing, but looking back, I know that senior class accomplished things that nobody's ever done before, and really proud of the team.
Well, obviously that senior class is going to be leaving a pretty big hole for your squad, not only with the starters in Brandon Watts and Nigel Grant, but with quality bench spirits with Bryson Hall and Des Williams as well. What are some of the traits you think that are going to be missed most for your team next season?
Well, they really developed as great leaders for the team, both on and off the court. They really grew into that role. They had some of that responsibility last year, as juniors, so they were able to build on that experience and what the team accomplished, and they did a great job with this group, and I think we were focused throughout the year. I was rarely disappointed with their effort. Sometimes execution wasn't great, especially early in the season with some young teammates, but they really helped mentor those guys and build a special group.
Well, talking about leadership skills and then mentoring, probably the senior that everyone will have their eyes on next season will be James Murray Boyles. How confident are you that he's going to be able to take that role and run with it? And have you seen any of it in him yet, as he was essentially the sixth man of the year, not only for your team, but you could say for the Peach Belt Conference as well?
Yeah, he's really improved his game. He had a great off season. He's in tremendous shape. Had a great season, and defensively he made a lot of progress. So I think if he continues on that pace, he'll be looking at an all-conference type season as a senior, and I think he's ready to take on a lot more leadership as well.
Now, looking back on the season as a whole, while the bar was set and built upon making it past the first round of the NCAA tournament, making it to the regional finals will obviously be the first bar set into next season's campaign. What are your early thoughts into 2018, 2019?
Well, we lose some great seniors, but we have a lot coming back as well, and some other guys that redshirted that are, and Carson Mounts, Cam. We're not sure yet what Sean Kirk's situation is going to be, if he's going to play next year or use that as a redshirt year academically. But I do think we got a lot of talent coming back, so the goals are going to be very high once again.
Where do you think your team is going to be strongest when those redshirt guys make their debuts in the sense of Cam Hamilton and return in the sense of Carson?
Yeah, well, Carson's had a tremendous redshirt year. It's kind of a little different scenario where he played 2 years. People got to see a little bit of what he was capable of, but he's taken full advantage of this redshirt year with his strength, conditioning, his agility, quickness. All facets of his game have really improved, so we're really excited for him. Cam was good enough to help us this year, but we just felt like with the amount of players we had in the backcourt, it made sense for him to just
let him
take
grow.
a redshirt year, develop, get stronger. And with Brandon Watts graduating on the perimeter, that's going to open up more minutes next year for somebody like Cam. Yeah. But he'll be a spark off the bench. Well, I shouldn't say that. I mean, we don't know who's starting coming off the bench.
Still too early for that. Yeah.
But those guys both have a chance to be impactful.
Now, is there any specific strength that you think your team will have next year that maybe they didn't have this year, since you're going to have a younger team per se compared to the one that you had this year?
Yeah, in some ways, yeah, but basically the core guys all got a year under their belt, where we had a lot of first-year guys playing key roles this year, especially in the backcourt. But the experience that they gained, the experience that JB, Akia, Micah have gained, we'll have really experience at every position and depth at every spot. Oh, yeah. I expect us to be as good, hopefully even better defensively. I do think we'll have potentially a little more scoring coming off the bench even than we did, depending on who starts and who comes off the bench. But it'll be a fun team, exciting team. I would like to, hopefully they'll challenge themselves. The one area I didn't think we probably were not as good this year as maybe the year before is our rebound margin.
Yeah.
And that's something that, you know, with the size and athleticism we have coming back, you know, hopefully we can improve that, you know, along with continue to improve our defense.
Any early recruiting names or standouts that you can toss our way about guys that you think might make an impact that, of course, the fans haven't gotten a chance to meet yet?
Well, we've only signed one thus far,
Yeah.
Silas Love.
Yeah.
Other than that, you know, we can't really comment on specific players until
course.
after they sign. But,
Yeah.
you know, we're still, you know, looking and evaluating some guys at the wing position and then on the interior, whether it's guys to come in and maybe contribute or guys to possibly redshirt. We got a lot of depth coming back as it is.
Exactly.
So it would take a special player, I think, to come in and break into the lineup next year, but you're always trying to build for the future, you know, with possible redshirt guys.
Exactly. Now, what's the message for the team heading into the offseason? Of course, I would assume it would start with, hey guys, the bar is set pretty high for next year. Head into this offseason with that idea in mind.
Yeah. Well, you know, they need to take a little time away mentally and physically, let their bodies heal and come back fresh this spring and summer for workouts. But I think everybody had good off seasons last year, and I expect they're all motivated and hungry to have a chance to come back and go after another Peach Belt title. You know, and again, like we talked about this year, we were able to get a little further, but you know, you're never satisfied. There's only one team that's
There's only one
happy.
team that has the final goal successfully.
Yeah, there's only everybody else has some level of disappointment along the way.
Yeah.
But you know, it's a great group of guys. They were just so much fun to work with and be around on and off the court, and really excited, happy for those seniors and proud of them because they have bright futures. Potentially playing professional basketball somewhere, but also more importantly getting their degrees and setting themselves up for a career. But really, really excited about the returners as well and the potential we have coming back.
Coach, how about yourself though, with the offseason coming in tow? Do you have anything to get away in plan, or is it on the road for recruiting right away for you?
Yeah, there's a lot of recruiting to be done in the short term, but hopefully when it warms up a little bit, I'll get out and hit the golf ball around a little bit.
Exactly. That's definitely the best plan of action when it comes to times like this. Well, Coach, we obviously look forward to you taking the time with us this time next year, and we thank you for all the time you spent with us this year.
Appreciate it. Thank you, Matt.
Ben Miller, the head coach of the basketball squad. One more segment of the Black and Gold Report on its way. Keep it here on the UNCP Sports Network. That's going to do it for us here on the UNCP Sports Network. A lot of people to thank for this show. Our crew here at the Old Main Studios, all the folks at WFXB. Head coach of the wrestling squad, Othello Johnson, taking the time out of his day to join us, as well as Ben Miller, head coach of basketball. And of course, you for taking the time out of your day to catch up on Braves athletics. With basketball and wrestling coming to a close, we can finally turn our attention to baseball. Watch out for Paul O'Neill. Brittany Bennett should be joining us sometime next week. Matt Sabatas here with you. I thank you for joining me, and I look forward to talking to you next time. Have a great rest of your Saturday right here on the UNCP Sports Network.